So hello everyone and welcome to the iSpring Solutions webinar series where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. My name is Paulina. I'm the community manager at iSpring and I will be the moderator for today's webinar where we will be talking about how to manage video for e-learning. And we have a very special guest today, an expert from Lodestone Company, also the CEO and founder of it, Josh Cavalier. Hi, Josh. How are you doing?
Hey, Paulina, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So, Josh is gonna share really cool tips with you guys today, and hopefully you will get inspired and be ready to start and get creative. And I have great news. This webinar session is being recorded, so no worries. You will receive a replay sometime after the webinar. However, I would like to encourage you to stay till the very end because it's a great opportunity to address your questions directly to our today's presenter. And to do so, please submit them in the question box. You will find it on the right side of the GoToWebinar panel. It should be somewhere at the bottom. Okay, so I think at this point we are ready to begin. So Josh, let me please pass the mic over to you.
Great, thank you.
All right, so I can see your screen right now.
Excellent. Very good. Thanks, Paulina. Well, again, thanks everybody for attending today. Today, I want to go ahead and just talk about how to manage video for e-learning. And before I get into the specifics about that, I just wanted to kind of set the stage and talk about business video today. Just give you a few statistics that interest me that I think will have some bearing on what's happening today in the marketplace. The first stat I wanted to bring up is that just in regards to just general viewing of content, 59% of executives would rather watch video than read text. And I think as a general trend, you're going to find that many people tend to side with video, depending upon the topic, of course. But there's the opportunity to consume video, and sometimes people will just default to watching a video as opposed to reading text. 80% of Gen Z teens say YouTube has helped them become more knowledgeable about something. And this is from a Google study. It's pretty telling that the next generation in the workforce and the way that they consume content is going to have a huge impact as us as educators and how we disseminate knowledge into our organizations. When the main method of consuming content is via video, with this generation, there's going to be massive acceleration into modifying our existing knowledge transfer workflows to becoming more video-centric. Even though we are consuming more video, 89% of that video is on the desktop still. And that's very specific to corporate. This statistic is from Vidyard, and they focus primarily on marketing and business video, but it's a really good tell as far as the consumption patterns within corporate, which is very different than consumer consumption patterns. So even though we are consuming more video, still most of that video is tied to the desktop, with just a small percentage of it is on mobile. I would venture to say that mobile will somewhat increase over time, but how much, it's, see. As far as the types of video-based content that we're seeing being distributed within organizations, most of it's webinar-based, just like what you're experiencing right now. I mean, that's like the low-hanging fruit of video communications within organizations. Other things we see are product demos, social media video, explainer videos, customer videos, and of course how-to and educational video. So we're seeing more types of video in our organizations and how creative our employees are becoming in using video-based content. Another statistic from Vidyard, and this is getting a little granular, but it's a really good statistic as far as the length of video and how it's being used within organizations. You could see here that 54% of the videos that are there, and this statistic is from 600 businesses and 250,000 videos that are B2B, primarily videos, 0 to 60 seconds. With at 22%, we got 1 to 2 minutes. So majority of the content that's being placed out there for business communications is between 1 and 2 minutes long. Now, I know this is a lot of information, but let me go ahead and give you a breakdown as far as what's happening here. This chart shows you the average engagement for different lengths of video. So we have over here on the left-hand side, the percentage of total viewers still engaged with a video. So 100% of the viewers are engaged at the beginning of the video. And then the different colors indicate the length of the video, where the dark purple is videos that are under 90 seconds. And down here in the green, we have videos that are over 1800 seconds, right? So very long format video. So you can tell that short form video and its consumption, individuals are more engaged with that short form video for the whole entire duration of the video and the percentage of the video length. And as that video length continues, we see a drop in engagement. Very interesting. So, we're trying to strike a balance between the knowledge that we're trying to transfer and the length of the video. And I'll be getting into some details about that in just a little bit. So we have all of this video rising up in our organizations. And how do we adjust to a video-centric workflow? I mean, for years, we've had certain ways that we distribute our knowledge within our organizations, and now video is really ramping up. So how do we modify our current practices? How do we adjust what we do to be successful with video? What are things that we need to think about as we move forward? One of the ways of tackling this problem is by creating a video action plan for learning. Now, typically, video action plans have been aligned with marketing and advertising efforts. But as educators and folks that create knowledge, we are in a fist fight for attention. And so we have to get extremely detailed as far as all the various touch points that our learners are going to experience as they go through a knowledge journey. And a video action plan is the foundation of this whole entire effort. So the steps that we're going to take for creating a video action plan include mapping the learning journey. Now, most of you have this down to where you understand exactly all the various touch points along the way that your students will go through as they gain that knowledge. We need to identify the delivery channels of our video. Again, this is very dynamic. Everything from a learning management system to learning content management systems to video content management systems, a lot of options out there. We need to go ahead and formulate these individual video events for maximum knowledge transfer. And so this involves formulating micro video content, formulating macro video content for that matter, to be optimal for knowledge transfer. We need to identify where these videos are going to sit. So channels, and I misspoke, channels are things like, showing a video online or in the classroom. Video locations include the learning content management system, the video content management system. And I'll be breaking down like specific channels for video delivery, like in an e-learning course or inside of a PDF, and then also various video locations, like a video content management system. And then all the various potential video analytics. We're going to see the relationship between a video content management system and why video analytics are so important. And I'm going to throw a little scenario out there to you about how we can tie in video analytics to things that are happening within the business, changes that are occurring, and how we can tie those two together. And then from those analytics, grabbing the essential data that we can perform actions or make adjustments with, whether it's modifying our videos that we currently have or changing things within our organization. So tying it back to actions. All right, let's talk about mapping the journey. So I have up here a typical knowledge journey. It may not be like every kind of knowledge journey, but it's a knowledge journey. And what we have is, starting from the top left, the first touch point in this knowledge journey. And it goes from left to right, top to bottom. So we start with the pre-training marketing. So this is awareness that a training program is coming up. You may do a knowledge assessment, see exactly, baseline where all the employees are at. You could pilot certain videos that are out there that are part of the whole entire process. Priming, so getting someone aware of the knowledge that's going to be transferred for a certain type of event, which could be a webinar or instructor-led training. Then we actually have a long-form training event. Here it's instructor-led training. And then we have post-training. We have e-learning that's available, performance support, curation of content, possibly from employees themselves, creating video-based content. And then finally at the bottom, we have any kind of gaps or the results of our efforts, and then we have to cycle it back through into the whole entire learning journey and make adjustments along the way. So again, this is a fairly basic learning journey. Most of you, as you disseminate your knowledge, will hit some of these, maybe not all of them, but most of them. So some of the educational video outputs, here's some details. So for instance, pre-event priming could be videos between 30 seconds and 1.5 minutes. This is prior to training, and they allow viewers to understand the knowledge be transferred. You could have long-form video-based content as part of a curriculum, right? A long-form curriculum, a lot of content. We recommend that those ranges be from 2 to 8 minutes. Once you get past 8 minutes, it's really tough to maintain attention with educational videos. Entertainment's different. Education, though, once you get past a certain point, viewers just naturally drop off. Additional short form content could be, videos that are used within an e-learning course, anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. You could be using these videos as post-training boosts. So after a long-form training event, the boosts would be pushed to a mobile phone or desktop and giving them reminders of key information that was transferred. Or performance support. Videos can be used to allow individuals to get an answer in the moment of need. So there's all these various touch points along the way that's part of this video action plan. And it reminds us of similar things that happen in a marketing funnel. And the more that we move forward and we have this, I mentioned a fist fight for attention. It's interesting the parallels between learning and marketing and advertising, as far as just maintaining attention and taking advantage of all the various touch points that are out there in the marketplace that we can transfer knowledge. Let's talk about specific delivery channels. So once you go and you map all of those touch points in the learning journey, right? So let's say that you're rolling out an implementation of a brand new system or a piece of software, or there's been a regulation change. Map that learning journey out to where there's all the available opportunities to use video. Then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the delivery channels. The delivery channels. So what I mean by that are, how are you going to distribute that video within your organization? What media type are you going to use? So some examples would be a link in an email, a WebEx or GoToMeeting, or an online video meeting, Chatter, SurveyMonkey, text messages, inside of an e-learning course, PowerPoint, or just parked into a video content management system or corporate YouTube. These are all your channels. Some of you are limited. Some of you can only get your video out there a certain way. Maybe it's like parked in a SharePoint area. You must go in and identify all the available video channels. And this could be even for instructor-led training, right? Maybe it's materials that you pass out in a class. You can embed a video in a PDF, or stick a camera in front of you and record the session, record yourself writing on a whiteboard or using a flip chart or doing a game, or even inside of a workbook, an electronic workbook. So whether you are distributing video or identifying opportunities that video can be recorded. Again, for many of you, the idea of putting cameras up during a class, I think it's happening more often now. But for a lot of you, you're not taking advantage of that. And that's something that needs to be considered. During the whole entire knowledge transfer journey, are we doing a lot of in-person type events where we could simply just throw up a camera or 2 or 3 cameras and have some really superior outputs from that? So we're going to go back to our video action plan. And again, the items that are in black are the touch points for the student. And then the items that are in white are the specific channels that can be used during that touch point. So for instance, during pre-training marketing, where we're building awareness of the training program, we could be using email, WebEx, Chatter to get our links out for these pre-training marketing videos. Instructor-led training down here in the middle. PDF, whiteboards being used, flip chart, game, workbook. Right? So again, what we're doing is taking a look at our current reality in our organization and what are these specific delivery channels for these touch points. And again, I mean, if you have a video content management system in place already, the setup here is going to be drastically different and give you definitely more options as far as how the students are going to be able to go ahead and get the video-based information, or how you're going to insert it into an e-learning course or implement it across the whole entire learning journey. So here's an example. This is one of our clients, Huber Engineer Woods, and Lodestone was contracted to go ahead and put together an integrated training for them dealing with Salesforce. So there was they changed their sales software, and we help them with, again, identifying the whole entire learning journey, where the touch points were going to be, and then what video-based content was going to be most effective along the way. So we created pre-training marketing videos with leadership discussing why Salesforce was picked. We then went ahead and we were in charge of doing the multi-city hands-on classes. We should have recorded video during those, but we didn't. It was a budget issue. But then we were also in charge of going in and doing the post-training performance support videos. But again, everything was mapped out and thought of strategically in regards to where the opportunities were to create content, where the opportunities were to record content, and then using Huber's channels of delivery, existing channels of delivery like email or Salesforce itself, get that video-based content out there, specifically implementing the links to the performance support videos right in Salesforce itself. So let's get a little bit granular as far as one of the video outputs. Today I'm going to focus in just on pre-training marketing. This could be any kind of video, as far as like the level of detail you need to think about with that specific video. For instance, I could also apply this to a boost, right? Or a video that will appear inside of an e-learning course. So for this pre-training marketing example, the format of the video is a question and answer. The basic length is 30 to 60 seconds. The goal is to communicate the impact of organizational change, who the audience is, and then a potential script. Taking it down to this level is going to allow you to execute on future initiatives much faster. So you don't have to one, you can actually go back and see what was successful and then make changes to these types of strategies of content creation. And if it worked, hey, there's no changes here. We can go ahead and keep this script or keep this one video strategy and use it again for the next pre-training effort. Some formulas for micro video. So once we get down, let's say that we've identified a 30-second specific pre-training marketing video. One of the formulas that I like to use for my micro video content for learning involves an emotional pull at the beginning, priming the user for the information, giving them the content while reducing cognitive load so that information can get into temporary storage and hopefully a long-term memory. Reflect the content at the end. Again, this helps with the transfer into long-term memory. And then give an emotional push off the back end. This could be a call to action or possibly follow-up information on the topic. What's fascinating is this formula that I've been using successfully for micro video content for education. It comes really close to mapping to a 30-second ad. So what I've overlaid here is something called Monroe's motivated sequence. And this gentleman, Alan Monroe, created this in 1969. It's pretty much a formula for a 30-second ad. But look how it maps to education. I mean, it's like really close. Sometimes I feel that we're like, the advertisers of knowledge. And we have to ramp up our efforts because we are in this fight for attention. But look how a 30-second ad maps very closely to a 30-second micro video for education or knowledge transfer. Now, if we get extremely detailed as far as what we can do from a creative standpoint, if we take that pre-training marketing example, that video, I know for many of you getting involved with video for the first time that it's difficult to just, you got your ideas down, but how do I execute on it? Like, how do I start? What's the first shot? What's the content going to be? And it's usually more than just turning the record button on. So what I've done here is I have one formula for a pre-training marketing video, which involves an emotional pull at the beginning or the first 5 seconds of the video. We get into the content, which could be 20 seconds of response or 30 seconds. And then we have the emotional push off the back end. So, you'll notice what's interesting here is that I don't have a priming statement or I don't have a reflection off the back end just because of the type of video it is. I mean, this is a marketing video, so there's really no need to set up those cues or the reflection for knowledge transfer. I mean, so for a marketing piece, it's more emotional. Down below, I have examples of what can happen during that time. So for the emotional pull, could be a title sequence, then we go to a headshot, and then we wrap it up with a title sequence. Or I could show a title, headshot, maybe some photos or video while the executive is talking, go back to a headshot, go back to a title. You get the idea. So these content blocks give you formulas or recipes for successful video outputs. And again, as you move forward and you have success with content that you've created, you may want to map these out. These are ideas that you can use over and over again. These are templates that you can leverage. So, you know what works, and from a creative standpoint, you're not recreating the wheel each time. And again, getting like really super granular. I mean, you can go in and transitions for macro video content. In this example here, you know, what if we have a longer form video? And in this long form video, we take 2 micro videos, 20 seconds a pop, and in between put a transition. And then some ideas for that transition. Also have some production tips here. Again, find what works for you and works for the student as far as video outputs. I would not, you know, get into the like the pace of, oh, we knock these videos out, we're done. You know, that's really the beginning, because once you've had success and you really can see that you've transferred knowledge or having a change in your organization, what kind of video was that? What level of detail are we getting at with documenting the types of content that are successful? Right? I mean, if you do it with your stand-up training and you have a formula that just works, why aren't you doing that for your videos? So again, just some details here as far as production tips for that pre-training marketing example. Now let's talk about video storage. I know for many of you this is challenging, or it could be something that's disruptive happening now, especially if there's an implementation of a corporate YouTube or video content management system. So here I have a breakout of the various types of locations or areas that video could sit. So starting from the left, embedded video. So this is just taking a video and putting it right within a document. So this could be, of course, inside of an e-learning course, PowerPoint, inside of a PDF, part of a WebEx presentation. The next one's a video content management system. Now this is my recommendation. With a video content management system, there are all kinds of advantages like using analytics, search, distribution, scaling of bandwidth, also with a video content management system. But still, you want to go ahead and map out what are all the possible delivery channels with that storage area. With a learning management system, obviously we can store a lot of different types of content and get the information out there. But for many of you, you're parking those videos inside of the learning management system or learning content management system. I know that a trend that's happening or that I see today is that companies are getting video content management systems, and then within your e-learning courses, referencing the video from the video content management system as opposed to embedding the video in the e-learning. And finally, the last delivery channel that I have here is external. So it's outside your organization. This could be private YouTube videos or Vimeo for Business or Wistia. Those are just some examples. But again, you want to make sure that you got your game together as far as where you're storing your videos. And the two best here are the video content management system or external video content management via vendors like YouTube, Vimeo, and Wistia. Now, some of the analytics that we get back from these systems, well, you can see why embedding the video, you're not going to get any analytics back from that video other than maybe that you can visually see that somebody opened it up. With the video content management system, we can get information like geography, where physically did they open the video up at, view time, audience retention. With an LMS, we can get XAPI data and LMS data. They opened it, they completed it, scored. So we don't get any granular video-based data there. We just know that maybe they watched it. And then the external video content management system mirrors what we have with an internal video content management system as far as analytics. Let's get in some details on those analytics. Here's a great quote It's from Josh Bernson. Just as we see all types of curated and highly refined advertising as we browse the web, companies are starting to wage an escalating war to build people analytics models. Yes. Going in and having an understanding of how videos are consumed is going to have a huge impact on organizations moving forward, specifically around artificial intelligence. I believe that in the future, that the videos that are going to be consumed by your employees will be automatically generated based upon the knowledge that they seek or the knowledge that they need. But the only way that's going to happen is if a foundation is laid down for a video content management system that can gather the proper analytics. If you don't have the analytics on how the videos are, the content of the videos, and you don't have the analytics as far as where the knowledge gaps are at or who these individuals are and how they like to consume video, those videos will never get created. Here's one example. So this represents a video that Lodestone posted up to YouTube about 8 years ago now. It was a training video on a piece of software, and over here on the left-hand side is the audience retention. We talked about that earlier, and down at the bottom is the length of the video. So this video is approximately 12 minutes long, and these are the analytics that we got back. Currently, this video has about 10,000 views, so that's a pretty rich set of data at 10,000 views. But take a look what happened here. If I'm taking this training video and trying to analyze what happened during the user experience, like with retention, take a look right here at the beginning. Half the audience dropped off within the first 30 seconds. What happened there? Disaster is what happened. That's horrible. So the short of it is that we actually put learning objectives in the front of our video. How about that, right? So like in this video, you'll learn how to X, Y, and Z. Yeah, that was a seriously bad move. Individuals don't like to hear learning objectives at the beginning of a training video. Like they already have enough context and understand why they're there in the first place, and they just want the information. So the other interesting thing that we found is that you notice that there's some points here that move up. Yeah, those are the beginnings of a new learning objective in the video. So during this 12-minute video, we had 3 learning objectives or 3 things that we talked about. And the way that that goes up is that the user scrubs and they skip over content and then they stop and start watching again. So instead of having a 12-minute marathon video, we now have analytics to indicate where users want to start watching these 3 videos, these 3 points here, one at 2:58, one approximately at 5:30, and one at 8:55, right? So it's pretty telling when you have these analytics, what's happening with the video, and is there an opportunity to take long form content and shorten it? This is, I tell you what, for those of you that like have video in the can already, but you don't have a video content management system, there's some huge upside here because you can take those videos that you already have, get them in the video content management system, get some analytics on them, and then figure out where's the gold. Like where are people going in these videos, and break those videos up even further, make them accessible, whether it be through performance support or putting it as part of an e-learning program. And you're going to have way more traction and way more opportunity for individuals to access that information quickly and efficiently. And it's in a format that's more consumable. The other bit of information that you can get from YouTube analytics, oh, and by the way, I mean, you can start doing this today, right? I mean, if you don't have a video content management system, but you want to see how videos perform or the analytics that you get, just put a video up on YouTube or put a private video up on YouTube and share it within your organization, as long as you're allowed to do that. I would take advantage of that. So what we're seeing here is something called relative audience retention. And what this does is it takes your video and compares it against every other video that's out there on YouTube in regards to retention. So at the beginning of this video, you can see that our video is way below average. It was horrible. Most people should be sticking around at the beginning of video. Most people bailed. And then we have a very high retention here, and then we get kind of into a lull, but look way out here. What this is saying is that in this video, there's some rich content at the end that most people would bail on or leave the video just because of the length of the video, but because of the subject matter, people were interested enough to stick around for a long time. So there's some gold sitting there at the end of this video. Again, this is only one example of using analytics to break down what's happening with the video. One of the other things to consider with video is XAPI. There is actually a schema that is set up for video analytics and XAPI, so events that occur within the video can be written back to a learning record store. And for those of you that are not familiar with XAPI, it's a way of tracking learning events that are outside of a learning management system. That's probably the simplest way I can describe it for you. And video is a part of that. And this interests me a lot because I believe that this is one way that we can begin to tie video analytics into business analytics, is through XAPI or the transfer of video analytics into various platforms. So, and I apologize for the there's tons of information on this slide, but I'll try to guide you through this. And this is an example of what happens when a user engages a video, and we want to track the correlation between the way they engage with the video and a problem that's occurring within our organization. So let's say it's we're having a safety issue with forklifts, right? So it's been identified that there's an increase in incidents, and it revolves around a specific thing happening within a warehouse. So we decide to go ahead and create a few training videos that identifies the problem and gives guidance in regards to how to avoid it. And we get that video out and we start getting information back from it. How do we tie that into our organizational data? Well, one opportunity would be to place that video on a video content management system. That's step number one. The student will consume the information, consume the video, and information about how they interact with that video goes back to a learning record store. And so just real quick, just on that one point or that one interaction, earlier I mentioned that you have the ability to scrub a video back and forth, and that's one way of interacting with the video. Or you can pause or you can stop a video. But how do I know that you stop the video to ponder or to think about what's happening, or did you stop the video because you got to go to the bathroom? I don't know. I just know that you stopped the video. But if you stop a video and you take a note, I can use an XAPI statement and track that you were doing something at that moment in time that led to you remembering or doing something that related back to the video, right? That's a more salient point. And so if you are drawing, if you're making a note on a video and we're keeping track of that, then we know that there's more traction at that point than just a pause or a scrub. Also, things like dwelling on a video. A dwell would be that you paused for a certain period of time and that video cranked back up, or you hit a back button, like go back 10 seconds, go back 30 seconds. Like, I want to watch this again. Right? So we can get extremely granular with that information. Now, From the learning record store, we then can go ahead and tie in information like business analytics through KPIs, or integrate in with the learning management system, and even get those video analytics, the data, back out to reporting mechanisms or dashboards. Huge opportunity here. So, what if we put that training video out there of the forklift? What possible opportunities are out there, or what kind of information are we going to get back from somebody watching a video and things that are happening within our organization? This gets us to the actionable results. And I feel that this is a huge opportunity to map the correlation between media consumption, specifically video, and changes that are happening in your organization from consuming that video. So for instance, let's say that we notice there's a 22% reduction in forklift safety incidents year over year. Yay, that's good news. We know that 92% of our forklift operators watch the training video to completion. That's a very, very good statistic. 73% of them watched it more than one time. The top safety tips section maintain the highest viewer retention, specifically between time codes 215 and 342. There were more pauses and replays in this section, which illustrate the problem we were having last year. So now you can see the relationship. If you don't have a video content management system as a foundation of your distribution of video-based content, you're going to be missing out on these opportunities. And again, having a cohesive video action plan, mapping out the whole entire knowledge journey, understanding your channels, right? So I got the knowledge journey down. Here are all the channels. Here are all the ways we can get our video out. This is where we can store our video. And these are the analytics that we're going to get back. And how do we correlate it back to what's happening in the business? Those are all the steps for creating a cohesive plan for your video for learning within your organization. All right, so I wanted to thank everyone for hanging out with me, and I wanted to see if there was any questions at this point. Paulina, you may have to help me with the questions.
Sure thing. Thank you very much, Josh. I think it was a wonderful session with a lot of information to absorb, and I hope that our wonderful attendees enjoyed it as much as I personally did. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. And yeah, it was wonderful having you today as our presenter. Impressive session, really. And before we move on to the Q&A session, and yes, guys, please, if you still have any questions for Josh, this is the best time to send them in. And while you are doing this, I would like to ask you, Josh, if it will be possible to share your presentation with our attendees.
Yes, I would be more than happy to do that. Paulina, I can go ahead and post this presentation up, and give you that link that you can then share with everybody.
Okay, that's awesome. Great to know. I would also like to say at this point that you guys are more than welcome to join us for our next webinar session that it's going to be on April 4th, and there's going to be another really cool expert. I'm very excited for it, and I will share a link to our webinar section on the website with you guys, so you can go ahead and check it out and sign up for the next webinar session. The second thing I wanted to mention is that you guys are also our iSpring clients are more than welcome to use either iSpring Cloud solution or iSpring Learn LMS to share your videos to your with your audience. And if you upload your videos into iSpring Learn LMS, you can get such statistics as was the video viewed or not by your learners, how many times they opened the file, what parts of the file were viewed, for how long they watched the video, etc. So you can get really deep statistics on that, and I'm very excited for you. And at this point, I do see that questions are coming in, so let's get started with answering. So first of all, Josh, you mentioned on the video channels slide a chatter. Can you please tell us what that is? Chatter?
Yeah, that's just internal Twitter. That's all that is. So it would
Okay.
be a social, yeah. So many platforms have a internal Twitter or short form blog feature, and
Mhm.
Chatter is just one of them out there in the marketplace.
Okay, cool. Good to know. And Bud is asking, what do you think of Microsoft Stream for sending videos out?
Hmm.
If you've heard
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. So for many organizations, Microsoft Stream or Microsoft's video streaming efforts are like the low hanging fruit, because I know a lot of you have to work with IT departments. And what I have seen in the marketplace is that if the e-learning department or training department aligns itself more with IT,
Hmm.
typically the Microsoft solution comes into play. But if marketing and sales has more of a pull within the organization, I see the marketing department actually making the first move on the video content management system. So, I mean, personally, if you can get your hands on any video content management, be Microsoft Stream or anything, something is better than nothing. So I don't know the specifics, nor have I engaged with anybody that's used Microsoft Stream. I just know it's available in the marketplace. And again, I see more IT departments aligning with it than some of the other vendors that are out there.
Hmm. Thank you very much for your answer. And the question from Jenny is, does Josh offer basics on video-based content development training?
Well, funny you should ask that. I do have I do have classes that are coming up, and you can check out these classes up on lodestone.com. So coming up very soon. Uh, Next week in March, I got a video for e-learning workshop. That's more of a hands-on class here in Charlotte, but teaches you lighting and camera and how to frame the ship, things like that. I have a full day micro video workshop where we get full into the cognitive science of video. So really getting in and understanding all the formulas for all the various output types I talked about today. And then I'm adding a new class May 17th, interactive video workshop. If you're interested in all three, we can talk about a little special there. But that's what I have coming up.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing again. Jenny says, ha ha ha. Well, then, aren't we aligned? This is awesome. Okay, so let's move on to the next question from C. O'Connor. Thank you, Josh. I'm wondering if you have any templates to help track works to be completed or completed through the different stages of planning and development of videos.
So in regards to a detailed work plan that's
Mhm,
shareable, no. And the reason for that is that um, every client that I've worked with on this, we've been using their internal tracking, and we haven't been using anything at Lodestone. And even at Lodestone, we change
mhm,
like our internal tracking depending upon the project. So I don't have any templates available, but hopefully that video action plan screen, you took a screenshot of that, or you can get the presentation afterwards, we'll at least get a start for you, and you can go ahead and map out either in a Gantt chart or Microsoft Project or some other tool, those steps that are there and the relationships between them. And one point I want
mhm,
to make about that I didn't make in the presentation, like a
mhm,
dependency would be if you stand up training and you record that training with cameras and you have outputs from that training, where do those outputs sit? For instance, after a stand-up training, I can record the class, but use part of that video as a boost post-training, or just put the class up on the video content management system. So there's relationships there. But it sounds like a great idea, and I should work on a template for a project management tool for all those outputs. Making a
Connor
note
says,
right now.
awesome. Thank you. All right. Marcia is saying, I'm interested in your workshops. What is the special that you have to offer us, if there's any?
Yeah, so I don't want to get into the cost.
Mhm.
Essentially, each of those classes have their own cost. And
Sure.
if you take 2 or you take 3, I can go ahead and give you a discount on that. I don't want to talk about money here. So if you want to take that offline and shoot me an email, josh@lodestone.com, I'll be more than happy to go over, just because there's different pricing. Like if you have multiple students, you have a group of people. So I don't want to get into all of that right now. But yes, there is a discount for taking 1 or more classes, or taking 2 or more classes, and I'll be more than happy to help those folks out that attended today, just because you're, you know, good clients of iSpring. So
Oh, thank you. That's
sure.
awesome. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, just a moment. So, Cord is asking, any tips specifically on using videos within e-learning content, specifically either screencasting or videos of those using internet applications?
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, okay. So you could either, I mean, go about it one of 2 ways. I mean, if you're doing something live, um, I mean, obviously that would be, sharing a screen live and going over it, but I would record that opportunity. If it's an e-learning course and you're doing screen sharing, I
Hmm.
would definitely take a look at, is it going to be straight demonstration, or
Hmm.
are you doing guided practice? There's an assessment portion to it? Because your scope can keep up, it can get pretty hairy really quick if you're trying to go ahead and train somebody on a new online system and you don't have your instructional strategy down. It could really just, mess up the way that you apply the video. So I would make sure, as you map out the learning journey and you record those online environments, how are you going to implement that from an instructional standpoint? Again, am I going to go ahead and use that recorded video as a straight demo?
Hmm.
Or am I going to use that video as part of an assessment, or even a guided practice to where somebody can actually interact with the video, or even use interactive video? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about the instructional strategy. So it's more than just hitting the record button on the session. You have to validate those output types and how it's going to be used during the knowledge transfer process.
Hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Cord. I hope that answers your question. And the next question from Bird. I actually think it's a cool one. The best practice of not showing the learning objective at the start. Do you experience the same effect in face-to-face sessions?
Well, you have to okay, so here's the thing, is that within
Uh-huh.
every communication opportunity, you have to like understand the context in which the knowledge or information is going to be transferred. And there are times when giving away the learning objectives makes sense, especially like if you're doing a week-long class and you're doing stand-up instruction. Yeah, you
Mhm.
want to go ahead and set those fence posts up for the whole week. Like, what's the story? What are we going to go through? But
Mhm.
if I'm doing an online video and somebody click the link to get there, they can read the title and they can read the description underneath. That's their prime. Like, they have already been primed and they understand what they're going to consume. So there'd be no reason for me to have learning objectives. This is the same reason why, like, you wouldn't put learning objectives in a boost. So if I have a post-training event and there's a boost, well, individuals are already accepting of that media. Like they know they're going to get boosted on that event. So why put learning objectives in the front? Like just give them the information. So there's definitely a strategy involved of when and where to do learning objectives. I can tell you right off the bat that don't use learning objectives on long form YouTube videos. That doesn't work.
Thank you for your answer. So Richard is asking, basic information, video camera used, microphone used, is video work with PowerPoint just like audio?
Um, so is he asking me about like the types of equipment I have?
I guess
Is that
so.
the gist of the? Okay, yeah. So we use Canon cameras across the board, both
Mhm.
DSLR and for fixed lens video cameras. For microphones, like I'm using a Shure microphone right now. We use Sennheiser. We use Blue microphones. Um, it just depends upon where and when we're getting the audio. What was the second part of the question?
Does video work with PowerPoint just like audio?
Yes, yes. So you can, I mean, you can put your video inside of PowerPoint. And big tip, we have been using PowerPoint to actually create video bumpers and
Uh-huh.
export the PowerPoint presentation straight video,
Okay.
right? So using like morph transitions in
Mm-hmm.
PowerPoint, you can do quick animations and dump them out as MP4s and then put it into iSpring or whatever other tool you're using.
Right. Yeah, that's a great tip. Thanks. Thank you for sharing. And the next question I think is pretty cool as well from Marcia. Do learners respond to real people, um, real world pictures and video, or do they prefer illustrations or cartoon like characters when they are learning? Do you know by any chance?
Yes. So just I could talk like 2 hours about that topic, but just like the real short of it is at first, um, when they first see something in front of them, that's when
Hmm.
bias kicks in.
Hmm.
So like for the first 3 seconds, if somebody it's like your initial, like your gut reaction on something. And
Hmm.
so, yes, I mean, that's really critical. Sometimes human to human contact on a subject is going to be more impactful than a cartoon character. Like if we're doing a course on sexual harassment, you're not going to use cartoon characters for
Hmm.
sure. Uh, so, um, I mean, there's everything from if you're using a human on the screen, where's the placement on the screen? If it's centered on the screen, then that's more confrontational than putting them off to the side using rule of thirds.
Hmm.
Uh, Again, bias kicks in. Here's another thing. If I use a photograph of an object, then
Hmm.
your mind starts spinning about that object. If it's a photograph of a camera, well, you look at all the details of the camera. What type of camera is it? Could I use that camera? Is it expensive? But if I showed you a symbol of a camera, that reduces cognitive load and you can only process it as a camera. There's no details. So I
Hmm.
am big on using symbols because that removes bias and it also reduces cognitive load. So when you're talking about topics, especially complex topics, I would rather use symbols in that conversation than use photography.
Hmm.
But again, it depends upon. I mean, if it's a piece of equipment, obviously you're going to show that piece of equipment. But just in general, from a processing standpoint of the brain, a symbol is a much easier object to process than a photograph.
So in this case, you would you suggest to depend on the topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you're going to be using real photos or cartoon characters.
Yeah, I'm not cartoons, especially in the business environment. I mean, it's got to be real
Mhm.
tongue-in-cheek comedy stuff. I mean, it's got to be appropriate. You set a tone by using the visuals, and sometimes cartoons are just not appropriate.
Mhm.
But again,
Mhm.
it just depends upon where and when the presentation is at. I'm not
Right.
saying don't use cartoons. It just depends.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for your answer. So Joe is asking any suggestions on time parameters for 1 hour or 1 day course videos? Is
Yeah,
that
right. Yeah, so currently right now we're editing down a full day session that we recorded for a partner of ours, and we are trying to break that down into chunks
uh-huh.
to where so let's say that there was a hour and a half session in the morning, right? So we have
Mm-hmm.
90 minutes of content that will get broken down into individual learning objectives. So I believe it was the topic was public speaking, and the presenter went through and she had various tips and tricks, and each of those specific tips and tricks, maybe they're 6 or 7 minutes each. We would break those out.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there are strategies that you can put in place to take a micro video that is optimal and make it a macro experience by using proper transitions, and proper usage of emotions and priming and reflection.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, once the video gets past 7, 8, 9 minutes, people will just drop off. They will completely drop off. So
Mm-hmm.
now, ironically, in some situations, and it has to be like a perfect storm of learner motivation and long form content, if the individual is extremely motivated to learn the information, like if they don't know this information, they're going to kill somebody, or they're going to lose their job, um, they will stick around for a long period of time. There's like a segment that like you go from like 10 minutes or 8 to 10 minutes where you get this huge drop off. But then if you have videos that are longer than 20 minutes, like people that commit way past a point are like fully committed. So
Mm-hmm.
there's like a bump with like
Right.
really long videos, but it's a very specific situation that occurs. Um, but again, really quick, break those up into learning objectives, get them down into short form video based content, but then put them together in a curriculum where the user could go through each of those videos in sequential order.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer. Question from Cord. When demoing, showing internet applications or tools, do you recommend using videos?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're doing any kind of on-screen work, videos are definitely going to, tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I would do though is I would go in and intersperse those training. And again, it depends upon where in the learning journey these videos are going to take place. Because if you're doing the initial training of the application, not as
Mm-hmm.
performance support, but the initial training of the application, then you're going to want to inject a human component in there to emphasize why this function is important from a business standpoint, right? So if you put a subject matter expert up on the screen or concurrently while the action is occurring, then the emotion of why it's so important can actually come through. But if it's for performance support or a boost, I would just go ahead and show the task. I wouldn't necessarily put a human on the screen. I just like because they just want the information on how to fill out the form or whatever the case may be. So there's definitely some strategy around that.
All right, thank you. Let's cover two more questions and then probably we will need to wrap up because we are a little bit over time. So Andy is asking, any suggestions on closed captioning with videos?
Yeah. So at Lodestone, what we do for our closed captions is we'll go in and we will use Camtasia as a tool to do closed captions, and then export out SRT files, and then get those closed captions into things like Vimeo for Business. Typically, most platforms will allow an SRT output, so,
Mm-hmm.
import. So that, I mean, that's just the tool that we use and it works for us. Like currently right now we are doing closed captions for 25 hours of video. So and that
Uh-huh.
it just seems to be working for us. Also another recommendation I have is using rev.com for
Mm-hmm.
closed captions. They do both transcription and closed captions. It's just a vendor that we use. I'm sure there's others that are out there. It's just what we use here at Lodestone.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Um, Stefan is asking, is 8 minutes the maximum length for an e-learning video?
Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can have extremely long training videos, and if the learner is motivated enough, they'll watch the whole video. But again, you have to consider retention,
Mm-hmm.
because after a certain period of time, the user is tapped out in regards to temporary storage, okay? If they're watching the video all the way through. Now, you don't know if they're going to go ahead and pause the video and watch some more of it later on, or what they're going to do. You see more of that activity happening. Um, but again, then it gets into the question of access. If I want to go ahead and just watch a portion that's like 8 minutes into the video, now I got to find that spot and I waste my time. So, the longer the video gets, I start seeing more disadvantages into the
Uh-huh.
delivery of that long form video. Whereas the shorter the video gets, and if it's optimized towards a single learning objective, there's so
Mm-hmm.
many more things you can do with it.
Hmm.
Put it as part of a curriculum, insert it as part of an e-learning, put it into a boost, put it as part of performance support. There's much more power in a single learning objective video if it's produced properly. It's got
Mm-hmm.
more legs to it than trying to pack it all into a macro video experience.
Awesome. Well, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so I think at this point we need to wrap up and to sum up uh, the feeling about this workshop from our attendees. I would like to um, say out loud the comment from Marcia. The information was very helpful. You are amazing. Thank you so much, Josh. And I absolutely agree.
It's been my pleasure, and I really hope everyone got some value out of this. Again, here's my contact information. Reach out if you got any questions. I'm up on LinkedIn and up on Twitter.
Awesome. Yeah, so guys, if you still have any questions for Josh, or if you would like to visit his workshops, please get in touch at josh@lodestone.com, and I'm sure Josh will be happy to help. Okay, so thank you very much again, Josh, for being our presenter today. We very much appreciate it. And thanks to all of you guys for tuning in today for this wonderful session. We do hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll hopefully see you at our next webinar. Okay, so hope everyone has a wonderful day. Bye, everybody. Bye, Josh. See you at the next session.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.